Xenoverse 2 allows you to play as 8 different classes across 5 races, which is best for each playstyle. I have 8 level 99 characters, all skills unified, all body types and heights reset with the Dragonballs, all attributes removed, no clothing or QQ bangs. This is the raw character data. I will prove once and for all which is the best race for tankiness, regen, speed and damage. This is my ultimate CAC guide for Dragonball Xenoverse 2 Combat Damage. First we will go over the excluded transformations. Powerpole Pro because it changes your moveset, unreliable for combat damage testing. Also Become Giant because it changes your moveset just like Powerpole Pro. Also Purification is excluded because once again it changes your moveset, which is very unreliable for combat damage testing. Now let's find out who hits the hardest. First up for the combat damage test is the Freeze Race character. I'm going to do one full light combo, measure its damage, and do one full heavy combo and measure its damage and see how much total damage each character does. We're going to add together their full light and heavy combo damage and then use that in conjunction with their speed from the previous episode to calculate their DPS. Now time for the male human. And time for the heavy combo. Now we can see his light and heavy combo are exactly the same. I'm going to add them together, use it with his speed, and he has a DPS of 876 damage per second. Now time for the female human. I'm also going to note that Santa Goku Black is a mod created by the same person who done Elf Zamasu, and a link will be in the description for you to enjoy yourself if you want to download this mod for yourself. And time for the heavy combo. And we can see the female human's light and heavy combo damage, her total combat damage time, as well as her DPS, which is 860, not bad. Now it's time for the male margin. I'm just going to expand and explain a little bit better how we're going to measure these characters. So their light and heavy combo damage will be added together. We're going to take the total time it takes them to do their light and heavy combo combined, and use that to calculate their total damage per second. And the male margin has a DPS of 821. Not bad. Now it's time for the female margin. With her stretchy arms and weird ass combos. And our female margin has a pretty respectable heavy combo damage. Adding that together and then using her total combat time gives her a DPS of 847. Now it's time for the Namekian. The next episode will be going over the key and super damage. I will not do it in this episode because it's quite in-depth of how we go over combat damage. We're going to do them transformed and go over like combat damage and DPS and do a big scoreboard, and it will be a lot more complicated if we added key and super damage in there, which really deserves its own video. The Namekian doesn't really hit very hard. How surprising. Now it's time for the male Saiyan. Winner of this year's fastest combo award. As we found out in the speed episode, the male Saiyan's let down by his very long combat time. So even though he has a decent combat damage, his DPS is going to suffer. He's only got 685 DPS because his combos take forever to do. Now it's time for the female Saiyan. The female Saiyan had a really decent speed in the previous episode, so it'll be interesting to see how she does now. It's very easy to see that her combos are much quicker than the male Saiyan, so her DPS is going to be a lot higher. With a DPS of 1034. Pretty ridiculous. Let's plot these results on our graph and let's see what scores we've come up with. So we can see the total combat damage for all of our base form races. We're going to see the combo time for each of these races and calculate the DPS and give us our totals. For total damage, the female Saiyan takes the gold, with second place is male Saiyan, third place female human. The Freeze Race character and male human are the fastest, while second place is the female Saiyan, and both of the margins are in third place joint. Giving us the DPS winner is the female Saiyan, second place Freeze Race character, third place male human. This gives us our points, and as unsurprisingly, first in every category, the female Saiyan hits the hardest. Now let's plot all of our base form results on for the melee damage, as well as 2 transformations I find most relevant. The Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan and Super Vegeta for the Saiyans, Potential Unleashed and Kaioken for every race except for the Freezer Race character who gets Golden Form Potential Unleashed. We're going to have the total combat damage first, and we're going to see that the female Saiyan takes the gold yet again. Second place, male Saiyan. And we're going to have our potential unleashed Kaioken Super Vegeta results, and yet again, the female Saiyan is the absolute hardest hitter for melee damage in the game. Base form results as well as transformations. Now the female and male Saiyan have a racial attribute bonus that they have increased damage when they get below a certain amount of health, so they get plus 5 points here, giving us a total of 29 points for the female Saiyan. Male Saiyan coming slightly behind, with everyone else just not coming close. Now we're going to go over the total melee damage and average DPS, and we're going to find our conclusive results. Now the female Saiyan, again with the total gold, with one of the quickest combos, quickest in the game actually being the Freezer Race character. Now the average DPS is going to be quite high for the female Saiyan, as she's really quick and has high damage. Second place being the Freezer Race character, surprisingly, considering he has a low combat damage. This gives us our total results, with an absolutely ridiculous 7 points in 6th place to the Namekian. 5th place is the male Margin on 16 points. In joint 4th we have the female Margin and the male human. In joint 3rd we have a tie between the male Saiyan and the Freezer Race character, with one more point than the male Saiyan and Freezer Race character. With 33 points. Coming in second is the female human. Being in first place with a ridiculous 53 points is the female Saiyan, being the absolute best for combat damage in this game for DPS and total damage. Absolutely ridiculous. This has been the combat damage section of my Ultimate CAC Guide, a series in which I definitively aim to prove which is the best race for tankiness, key and stamina regen, speed and damage. The next episode will be going over their Ki Blast and Strike super damage. Until then, stay tuned for the next exciting episode of AxoniusRex.